to ignite the spark in people, and how I got ignited is what I want to share with you. I became an entrepreneur at a very young age because of compulsion, not because that I was not a good student. I went to Trinity College, Kandy. I excelled in school, and I excelled in my exams. But there came a time, a shift, and a turn in my life when my late father asked me to join the business. I was not cut out for business. In fact, my own brother was a person who was very keen, and when in the school days, whenever I go to the Askiria grounds to play, he will sit at the business and help father with accounts and everything. I was there only to spend my father's money in tuck shops and restaurants, and then play at the Askiria grounds. But there came a time that when my brother left the country for his higher education, and I finished my primary education or secondary education, and then my father asked me, someone has to take over the business and I want you to join my business. And I couldn't say no to my father, only because of one thing, that I existed at that time. I was alive at that time only because of my father. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been alive at that time. That's a long story. Cutting short, I was not well, and he did everything to bring me back into this world. So because he did that, and then when he asked me to join the business, I just did have the heart to say no, I'm also going abroad. My brother has gone, and then my father would have struggled, and I said, okay, fine. Against my wishes, against my mother's wishes, I entered the field of entrepreneurship. But I truly excelled in the early years of my entrepreneurship only because you have asked in your questions whether my parents were supportive. If not for my father, I wouldn't be sitting in this seat today. And I think I also would have not become the Toastmasters International President. I wouldn't have carried on to that journey of leadership. So it is my early years that my father trusted, so ultimately, if you want to encourage your children, if you have to create and allow young entrepreneurs to emerge, we have to trust in them. My father trusted me to the hilt in innumerable ways. So that leadership, that the Toastmasters International leadership came from my business leadership that my father motivated to be one. One of the things that he did the most, which I cannot forget in my life, is sending me to Japan for the Expo 80. You don't easily give a young adult all that kind of money and put him in a plane and say you can go to Expo 80 and come back. He did not only do that, he sent me to 7 countries, and then I ended up at Expo 80 and came back to the country. That is the kind of trust that he had me to build me up to be an entrepreneur. If I am today a good delegator, if I have innovated ways and means for Sri Lanka to partner with India and become a district, and for all these things to happen to create a movement in Sri Lanka with the help of many Toastmasters from my home club at that time, it is the trust that people had in me. It is the delegation skills that I had. It is innovating all the time, new ways to form partnership, form businesses, form diversifications. All this was possible only because of the trust that he placed in me, and the delegation that he truly embraced in just giving it over to me. He walked out giving a power of attorney to me and said, you can run this place and walked out of business, and he started another business for himself. Likewise, in 1995, I decided to diversify again against his wishes. But at that time, I had more courage, and I had my willpower to stand and prove to my father that I can make it work. So when I started this business, my business itself is a 70-year-old business today. It was started by my father in the year 1949. But in 1995, 15 years later, then I entered business. I diversified into an engineering company from a conventional trading company, because I wanted to use my brains to earn money, not speculation. My father could take a letter of credit and write at the back of the letter of credit application form and say, this product will sell at this price. But I wanted to use my faculties, and I wanted to earn money, and I wanted to engage myself with world leaders in a particular business with not knowing what I will do. But in 1995, I just embarked upon this journey of setting up an engineering company to sell industrial belts and automotive belts as well. So what is the game? I found there was a huge vacuum in the market, and I also was able to distract the market, because when I went into the trade in 1995, there were companies like Unilever's or Coca-Cola or Pepsi or you name it, all these Nestle's. They had to wait 3 months for a belt to come from Switzerland or Germany. And I wanted to get into that field, and it took me 5 years to really understand. My father was very skeptical about whether I'm really doing business, whether I can make a living out of this. But I was able to sustain that momentum for 5 years, and I then created my own fabrication plant in 2000 and reduced the 3 months lead time to 3 days. 2020 today, we have become the market leaders only because of those innovative ideas, ways and means that I engaged or installed in my company. So as a young adult, at that time, I was able to do this because of the trust that I had in my father, and then vice versa, him having trust in me. And then I had already traveled the world before I became a Toastmasters leader, and it so accidentally happened that I had to join Toastmasters Club in 1989 for just one reason. I had to belong to a club. I had to belong to a social group. I had to belong to a like-minded group to be able to say that I belong to a club in the city of Colombo. Otherwise, I would have ended up in Rotary or Lions, but I ended up in Toastmasters, not knowing where it would take me. But today, it has taken me on that path, a non-stop journey of 17 years to lead the organization that we have. I have met thousands of business houses. I've sat with hundreds of CEOs and government heads and departmental heads and private and public sector heads around the world, not just here. I've traveled to almost 90 countries because of my business and Toastmaster leadership and other leadership positions. All this is possible. If you have the will to do it, you have to get into. I never wanted to lead or speak, but eventually I spoke and led. I never wanted to diversify against my father's wishes, but I diversified. All that is important is whether you are calculating every step that you take. Apart from the risk that is involved, because if you do not take risk, you will never grow. You have to take some risk, analyze it, measure it, embark upon it. But ultimately, it is those skills that will help you to become a great entrepreneur. Toastmasters has helped me in innumerable ways to own the skills of communication, leadership, people skills, relationship skills, and all the business skills is part of our program. So I encourage all the young entrepreneurs to become Toastmasters, to learn those life skills and entrepreneurial skills and communication and leadership skills. But if you want to become an entrepreneur, those are skills that will help you. Ultimately, you have to have the will to sustain momentum and go through this tough and rough road to make it. And if you have the patience and the persistence, you can become the entrepreneur that you are meant to be. I wish you all the very best in your journey of entrepreneurship, and then in some form of leadership, either in Toastmasters or Rotary or Lions or anywhere. Don't miss the opportunity to lead an organization at any level, because that builds character which will help you as an entrepreneur.